back of the bus. The crack of the whip returns be us. Back of the bus. The crack of the whip returns be us. Romulus. Hello, species value nature system. Hello, Lost Legion. Since 2001, there's a recording of sexual threats and harassments and identity crimes with people on and off campus in other cities tied to university and colleges and community colleges campuses associated with people, dozens of people from my town associated with interbranch, foreign and domestic, private and police and overt criminal enterprises and unrealized, juxtaposed originally and still. And per as significance, that originally and still is recorded many ways, keeping branches like with slavery, blaming it on other causes than its actual causes and uses by it, blaming it on others, blaming it on themselves, the causes of it, the effects of it, because it is with much force sustained. This is why there's Joshua Julian, recorded and confessed by sex offender cliques, tied with the leadership of the schools, proven and recorded with crimes, with proven sex offenders with the kids, and further recorded interbranch. This is in Wethersfield and with other cities like Rocky Hill and stuff, with kids of each age, with the campuses connected, with exploitations of correlation nature in relationship to positions with the campuses maintained like this. There are houses on Church Street in Old Wethersfield I only know, confessed and recorded, tied to the retired and standing detectives. They confessed that I don't know, but through confessions of kids and adults involved with the exploitations of kids, using them for fake passions of courts and of fake side roles with their crime roles facilitated for them with federal criminals, homeland and criminally foreign influenced. But with telling the same finite active body of value, progression's value lies. Progression's value, like for example, not just what causes evolution, but when they say, oh, it's about jobs, with people stacking in Hartford, Connecticut, with peripheral, the horizontal and peripheral people stacking our infrastructure was set up by colonization, slavery of our founders, fact, treatment, nature, where and how it was distinctly and non-distinctly hurting people differentially to keep us divided and conquered from a base propagated with NASDAQ before the birth of our founders into it. So everyone was a fact, treatment, nature, slavery, all kinds of ways per laws tied to data, forced monitored, internation monitored database relationships. Before computers, because everything was written. But this ancient republic came from semi-ancient, criminally re-engineered, and then the needs for messengers of religions. Still, even where to fix sciences, and that's not demonstrated because we have convictions by these books out of sequence and dishonest. And they're aware of this because they had to make a counter criminal insidiousness nature position, whereas and how negative value nature is only positive value nature to the discernment of its positive, perfect value nature progression. We're not making, our identity is not making more of the complete nature of God, but we're making more of the complete nature of relationship that it has to itself as complete memory, as perfect, as positive or negative, but in relationship to a value nature system for obligations by our fact treatment that nature that was his tactically ulterior from each modern nations, and so to justifications of positions as victim predators, inter-sciences and inter-campuses, space maintained. So is also juxtaposed tactically through consciously propagated, everyone Oz, self-cultivated blaming on others and non-selves to the breaching organized crime method. I'm not a lawyer, I'm not police force, I'm not criminal. Boxing, not military. This shows how military is reliant upon criminally foreign influenced organized crime, criminal insidiousness nature experts, litigation nature experts, with the value of knowledge of the law being used to sabotage correlation nature, criminal insidiousness nature that can't be legalized. The only reason and that's why wars were set up, and the nature of identities to the maintenance of that was set up by what was consciously each modern nation building what needed to blame on other and on others non-selves, what was as formal as pseudosciences, again maintained, engineered, juxtaposed. In other words, so on off CCSU campus and other campuses, they have women interstate. They have to have housing on and off campuses. And they have this housing recorded and confessed involved through time, with undercover police and stuff like that, and police forms, and they're constantly having people go to court. They're constantly stacking courts' databases with illusions that war are criminally foreign influence through wars is maintained between nations to maintain their inherent roles. Suit and tie nations counters to it also not understanding, because they're to the maintenance to overall value of bond to species. A real identity is coarse. You can't defend these natures of modern nations' identities in us at the same time. You have to be a comparison nature. You have to say, oh, look, those people don't care about us, because the only benefit of the women in physics, the only difference in physics, as the only difference, if you don't look at what is real difference, which is beyond this, as it. In other words, we lost last to what stayed entrenched. When we have opinions recorded criminally foreign influenced through our schools, space now online maintained criminally foreign influenced database crime rules that were maintained to maintain originally stayed engineered live progression cover-up natures and needs that can only understand it to extents they can't stand even communicating, because they know they have to cover up live progressions. So they had laws against everyone about, not just with color, was if they torture whole families. Everyone was slaves, just like and as slaves. Our founders, if they didn't speak words that were forced, they would be able to find out who was behind the plot of our founders to stick up the surface value of the Constitution, still abridged, per this crime method, which our American history is about properly told, but it was never properly told yet. Because we have to understand the identity of space until all before, and then as the order of all finite to the Trinity, as the order taught each body a value of the Trinity, as the order to the Trinity's overall bond and value of bond's progression in relationship to what causes positive value nature progression or negative value nature progression, as the system constant onto each person as the same exact one to all positions. So we're in a value nature system that's tactical ulterior. Defenses of it its fact-cheaping nature roles as identities of positions, formal, private. They wouldn't even be jobs. They force people. You can't do it in the industry, but this is how they're extorting people to cover up standing, original, and progressed uncharged. What forgiveness was for about. Forget the most important thing besides the personal reasons at the finite level, but at the active body of level of value, metaphysical level. In other words, and because we're talking about the Trinity is value not only in physics, but as real science would have a long time ago revealed. That we have database solutions stack. We have pseudosciences, pseudo body of value, opinion nature's dishonest through this method, maintain them criminal insidiousness nature roles with recorded modern nations, each one including ours, criminally foreign influence, but not sourced from one, per the method that keeps areas and states in collusion with and as justifications of themselves, needing to defend premises treatments, body of value treatments, and progression treatment justifications the same way. In other words, need to hide lies and lie progression offensively, need to pretend they're against what they're for criminally, because everyone is doing that and then trained to do that. In other words, in other words, take pseudo-positive positions, like with the fact-cheaping nature of people with the money for and behind, like Mr. Baldwin, when he said, I have to invest what kind of art money I'm going to invest into. You know what I'm saying? He's a victim predator tool with other opinion natures, because he came through space maintained criminally foreign influence sciences, recorded. That's why they repeat the news and all the sciences, opinion natures that are repeating the same physical delusions, the same convictions without noting exception nature. In other words, exception nature is in exceptions with positive and negative is in demonstration of what with and as the body of the value nature system that is unto itself perfect value nature progression, so as the phenomena of the perfect system to all positions at once. This is the identity of space that is like our identity before, as the value of each finite part of our body, of each body of value of our body and overall. Of not only of the value of its bond, but of the value of its bond being a quality of diffusion, positive or negative, onto itself as the perfect value nature system. Per quality fact-cheaping nature that can't entertain this or that, and sequence shifts ignored. See, we don't have sequence shifts being allowed reported because of how they were stacked, facilitated, criminally facilitated to roles as a minority fit to positions being exploited in privately and foreign and homeland juxtaposed with negotiations that were either constitution abridged in each nation. In other words, you can't justify that and defend us at the same time. And each science is built to defend premise treatments with physical delusion, with as training as victim predators. They can't defend that and us at the same time. So we have fact treatment, and then the way they're defending it, then as that nature, it was as a criminal insidiousness nature. I'm not a lawyer. But in other words, this is what religion's about. In other words, the complete the complete body of value of a cell, of an identity, of as a like with a cell nucleus, cell body, cell wall. Not a lawyer. I'm not a doctor. And that cell wall, the identity of it also shared with the other cell walls, because body of value is is in demonstration to us. That's why each body of life is a body of value. See, then we have carbon gases and oxygen. We have positive and negative value nature that is invisible but still discernible, just like the identity of space. And just like the identity of space is invisible but still discernible, also the value of its progression and the nature and the identity of its progression. Because in other words, vinegar is one identity of nature, of value. But if you put baking soda in the vinegar, it becomes another identity of value. In other words, a reaction, in other words, with and as the value relationship to content. This is why even if we build a house, a body that has no that physical life, it still interacts with the rest of nature in ways that it's going to cause positive and negative value nature progressions. And because the identity of positive is inseparable from everything and everyone. We have temporary positive with us. But what gains that as its own body, as more positive value nature here, that stays as positive value nature here. And that stays as it once here is gone. Stays as that volume. What stays as negative value nature is temporary positive value nature that is not also progressively positive value nature gain of and as the complete identity of the nature of the complete identity of space's nature of relationship to itself that will only stay perfectly positive value nature gain. That's why and how it forces Lethe of Hades, negative value nature progressions. Death has nothing to do with that because the quality of diffusion is simultaneously inherently, actively, and progressively. In other words, while you're living, what's going to cause you to be identity of the volume of expanding positive value nature or expanding negative value nature within as the identity of space also a little more and more semi-nature of itself coming through with this, which is alpha and omega, which is polarity nature, like two sides of a battery. But there's no there's no such thing as ground and positive. It's alpha and omega, and what's positive or negative is that reaction, is if that that battery or the reaction, the energy released from the body of value of the baking soda and of the vinegar together. It's not just that trinity they are together. It's the trinity's relationship to itself, positive and negative. If you pour that on a plane, it's going to die. Pour it on a wound, it's going to make it, or something to clean it, or whatever. It be positive or negative. But that's also in relationship to a system that shows always, is designed always for us to see radical correlation by what is in demonstration of itself, by and as the cause of what will cause thriving and evolution. The ancients understood how to cause evolution before and couldn't fathom how anyone would need to or contemplate making the entire species forget how to cause evolution using the identity of space as the identity of all forever natures. So just like each body of value of a cell is a complete body, but it's also a semi-nature in relationship to others. Just like each person is a complete body of value, but we're also a semi-nature in relationship to grouped being sexes and being grouped per the extent that we could control in the range of positive, and being grouped as species bond. Also, in the extent we can control, and in the extent we can't, but per a system that is tactically ulterior from the ones we're in, that we're forced with simultaneous fake care and violence and hurt and harassment, and then blaming victims for what they were doing. Because that was his tied to then the defenses of that, per the method that the breaching method also involved with areas, gets defenses of that. Within has all the training and stuff like that, building fact-cheating natures that can't defend themselves. And with public platforms without having had set up and appreciating a facilitated database solution stacking, knaves, opinionators, moderated by all that too, undercovers interbranch and foreign and military, all juxtaposed within as one fake identity that can only see that see physical delusions with the physical difference, because we're on paper we're shared, they're here. We have fake. We have that tied to the KKK, Confederate flag crimes, recorded with crimes with other nations' police, with criminal justice shared with our campuses, with database solution stack and crime rules, that they're here, maintaining each individual grouped together progressively, sequentially, sabotaged correlation nature, lie progression cover-up natures to selves and to others, formally made, overtly, and unrealized criminal enterprises, criminal insidious natures, like wrongdoers. You can't legalize criminal insidiousness nature of modern nations as they are. They're all, they're worse than wrongdoers, which are terms associated with organized crime terms like criminal enterprise and like sanctions, which are associated with criminal enterprises, and but also with the time roles with the breaching organized crime that no one understood, because states and areas were lifting roles with federal agencies that can't defend their roles, sharing these database illusion stacking, knave, blame on other selves, justifications of pseudosciences associated with recorded, sustained impositions on each body of fact-cheating nature, especially with urban areas. This is a breaching organized crime method that set up zoning laws with fact-cheating nature, slavery of our founders, with forced database relationships that you can't defend these natures of agreements and teach about it at the same time. I just remind. So there's a Joshua Julian recorded and confessed by interbranch actors, men and women involved with child abuses and with police and interbranch with sex crimes using Facebook, also facilitated with and as medical drug crimes and fake news with distinct and with non-distinct individual and grouped criminal criminal persuasions through investigators associated with Wethersfield Parks and campuses associated with the media. Also Eric Mendez, and a Mike Domain, non-verbally and recorded non-verbally threatening and verbally threatening and demonstrating their roles with database illusion stacking and with fake news with Fox CT and with that corner right there. Also, Thaddeus Grabowski repeated threatening demonstrations of his roles with confessions regarding that area, and Alison Mulcahy also recorded, confessed by people that she pretended to know me, with the same people tied to my tied to people with like criminal justice, database illusion stack, and crime related cases through time that were used to cultivate also on and off campuses with interbranch police, directing roles in cases where judges tell them to lie about things. In other words, where judges tell them not to lie about things, not to do things, then they do it and stuff like that because they're directed to by. In other words, they don't know what to say. They're told to pretend they have free speech anyways.